This episode is brought to you by Pause, Breathe, Reflect, the app that can help bring more mindfulness to your everyday moments. Imagine what would be possible if more people could live more mindfully. Hey there, it's Michael. Welcome to the Kintsugi Podcast, a show for perfectly imperfect people everywhere. And I just had to say, before we go any further, I think, friend, you are amazing for circling back and watching and listening. So wherever you happen to be on this big blue marble that we all share, thank you for doing just that. And I hope you're healthy and you're safe. And I'm feeling as we start this week, we should start with a nice, generous, healthy breath in. If you're driving, eyes open, please. After all, safety first. We've already broken enough pottery around here on the Kintsugi set. We don't need any more. But for everyone else, you can get into a comfortable position. You can close your eyes if you like. And let's just take a nice deep breath. Breathe out fully through your nose if you can. Notice your lungs expanding as you appreciate the inhale, savoring the breath. And then when it feels appropriate to do so, just release the breath out, relaxing into this moment, softening your shoulders. That felt good, right? You may wish to take a few more of these over, say, the next 4 years, because today, as I record this, it's day one of Trump 2.0. Yep, that's right. The previews are over. I hope you've grabbed your popcorn and your juji fruits. It's sequel time 2.0, and we know how movie sequels go. They're usually not that good. Unless you're talking about The Godfather, Godfather 2, which was excellent, which, as I think about it, is sort of an interesting reference, right? Whether you are a fan or not a fan, I'm not here today to talk about Trump, but he is like that dude in your friend group, and you go out to karaoke bars, and he doesn't know much about music. And we sort of saw that from Trump on the campaign trail, didn't we? Right? But your friend has one song that he knows, and it's the song he goes to every time you go out for karaoke. It's Baby by Justin Bieber. And 49% of your friends are like, oh my God, he's going to kill it. It's going to be awesome sauce. We love that song. And the other 49% of your friends are like, God, no, not that song. Again, that song sucks. Now, 2% of your friends are not really paying attention. In fact, you usually talk about these people behind their backs because you're trying to figure out how are they in your friend group to begin with? Like, who invited them in? They just go along for the ride. They don't have a point of view. And again, you might love him, you might hate him, but either way, he's like a vortex, just a whole bunch of energy. And it's so easy to get sucked into his vortex. We've been doing it for the last, 20 years? And I don't know much about vortexes or vortexi or vorti, but I know this. Unless you're a cable news network, it's probably not good to get sucked into the vortex because it takes from your energy. It steals your energy. So this year, my advice is dance with the vortex differently. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. And again, you could be a super fan or not. It's just wise to protect your energy because there's just so much out there. The vortex is so big. There's so much swirl. It's a form of energy that zaps our energy. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. How do you protect your energy? And specifically, how do you change the energy that is all wrapped up into the conversation that you have with yourself? Now, 2.0 has a new BFF, Zuck, who I referenced last week. And Zuck has come out as he's talked to podcast hosts about how workplaces need to be more masculine, that he has a jiu-jitsu practice. And he's all into it. Although he doesn't seem to be all that aligned to the philosophy unless you take a very interesting perspective that the practice is about adaptability, and he's certainly adaptable. Now, keep in mind, the Facebook started in his dorm room in Harvard as a hot or not platform. Just what society needs, right? Another platform to disrespect women. But that's how he started. And now he's adapted. And now in 2.0 land, he's BFFs with the big boss, with the Godfather. You see, in jiu-jitsu, it's not all about this masculine energy. In fact, we use energy, or the practitioners, because I am not a practitioner, but I have studied it from afar, and I learned a lot about it as I spent most of my corporate career with a Japanese company. So a lot of Japanese culture came into our work culture here in the States. But with jiu-jitsu, instead of like fighting the energy straight on, which we tend to do in a finite world where we think there's only one winner, I got to grab mine, I win, you lose. Or we tend to run away from it, classic fight-flight behavior of us humans. Now, sometimes we try to numb the pain away. That doesn't work. Or we try to ignore the elephant in the room. That doesn't work. So we generally either freeze or fawn over someone, which Zuck is doing to 2.0, or we try to fight it or run away. That's our classic response to stress. But when jiu-jitsu practitioners are fighting and they're sparring, instead of fighting the energy, they use the energy differently. They dance with the vortex differently. They use the energy of the vortex in a way that helps them. They find the weak point in every hold because they know that every hold, every move has an Achilles heel, so they look for that. They try to use leverage to overcome strength, because you know that with the right leverage, we can overcome a lot of weight. We can definitely punch above our weight class, if you will. So leverage matters. And they also try to stay relaxed, which is something we definitely advocate here at Pause, Breathe, Reflect. So jiu-jitsu is a really awesome martial art because it has this philosophy of not like fighting the energy. It's dancing with it differently, finding the weak points in their story, leverage over strength, and staying relaxed. But when we get pulled into vortexes, and it doesn't have to be political, so I'm moving off of the whole 2.0 focal point, hopefully you can as well. But we have these obstacles in life all the time. As I shared with you last week, the Rumi poem, The Guest House. We open the door to our guest house because life is like a guest house, and we invite all the visitors in. So if you have something that's a joy, happiness, we rush to that. We hug that energy like there's no tomorrow. But we will face sorrows. We will face hurt. We will face obstacles. We will face people that we do not see eye to eye with. And we can fight them head on, or we can dance with it a little bit differently as a way to save our energy for the things that matter most. We can lean into the energy a little bit differently. We can find the weak point in it. We can use leverage to overcome its strength. We can stay relaxed. And this is particularly true as we pull this thread just a little bit further and we get really personal, all around the conversation that we have with ourselves about ourselves. As you know, I'm a big believer in looking at our foundation as a way to build something remarkable when it comes to our own personal growth or our professional growth. And I had an episode about this at the beginning of the year, all around celebrating Notre Dame and the reopening of it. And everyone was gaga about the structure, but it still needed a very strong foundation. And a strong foundation requires clarity around values and first principles. It requires clarity around your social wellness or well-being. Basically, who are you spending the most time with? Who's in your peloton, as I like to reference. We also have to pay attention to our physical well-being and health. So our cardiovascular health, our strength, our flexibility, and our nutrition. The fourth cornerstone is all around our mental and emotional health. So having a practice like pausing, breathing, and reflecting, or a gratitude practice certainly helps. But the thing that ties this all together is this conversation, this story that we tell ourselves about ourselves. And when this is good, when it's healthy and infinite, we can create something amazing with our lives. But when it's unhealthy, when imposter syndrome is present, when there's self-doubt, when there's anxiety, when we worry about other people's opinions, the whole thing can come crumbling down. And again, this inner critic, this negative self-narrative, is just another form of energy. It's just another version of the vortex. So instead of running away from it or numbing it away or ignoring it or fighting it, we dance with that inner critic differently. So we use its force to our advantage. So when it comes up, we can say, hey, I see you, but you don't define me. We can look for its weak point, its Achilles heel, because our inner critic loves to speak in general terms. It paints with a broad brush. It will say things like, you always do that, or this will never happen. But we can go back into our history and say, that's not true. There are many times where I was able to get through something like this. So your data points are not complete. You're trying to peddle some conspiracy theory that I'm always going to be this way. And speaking of conspiracy theories, we do know that Biebs is Canadian and 2.0 wants to take over Canada. Is that a coincidence or not? I just don't think so. I also think that Usher's involved in the whole thing, but that's just me. But I digress. Going back to our inner critic. So we can tell the inner critic, hey, I see you, but you don't define me that way. And oh, by the way, your story that I always do it like this, that I never am good enough, that's not true, because there's multiple times where I've shown I'm actually better than good enough. And then we can find its leverage point. We can use leverage to overcome its strength. So maybe the whole reason it shows up is to teach us something. And that's our leverage. And of course, it's helpful if we stay relaxed through the whole thing. We pause, breathe, reflect. We create some space. And in that space, it allows this new story about ourselves to come up to the surface so we can create something amazing. So we can pull a page out of the jiu-jitsu philosophy and dance with our own personal vortexes differently. So we protect our peace. We can protect our energy. And I hope you'll do just that. And if you want to talk further about this, reach out to me. Obviously, this is a short podcast, so we can't do the whole topic justice, but I hope we've planted a seed. So this year, breathe deeply, dance with the vortex differently, protect your peace, protect your energy. You can stay well informed on national matters, but you don't have to get sucked in. And you certainly don't have to get sucked in to that inner critic that we all have. You can dance with that vortex definitely differently and build and create something amazing that includes a whole bunch of wonderful ripple effects that will make the world a better place for all of us. You will create a better tomorrow for all of us, not just some of us. As always, thanks for listening. I think you are awesome sauce, even if the only song you know is Baby by Justin Biebs. But I would recommend maybe expand your Spotify playlist just a little bit. I'm just saying, because, other people are talking. Again, as always, I love that you gave some of your attention this week to the Kintsugi Podcast, and I hope you'll tell a friend or two about us. And until next week, let's celebrate our scars as golden symbols of our strength and resilience. I love you. Bye-bye. This episode is brought to you by Pause, Breathe, Reflect, the app that can help bring more mindfulness to your everyday moments. Imagine what would be possible if more people could live more mindfully.